XA, what's up? My name is VJ, the brother from the ancient mother. You're watching another installment of The Headspace, Africa's most poignant hip-hop podcast, where we focus on, delve into, and engage on the beautiful culture of hip-hop as it evolves on the continent of the motherland. Now, I'm gonna talk about an MC who has kind of earned his stripes as a resilient general of the art form in South Africa. Came from one of our most notable hip-hop groups, a group called Tear Gas. The name of this brother is Ma-E, aka the Township Councillor, aka the Kingpin. Now, recently, a list popped up on Twitter that was talking about the wackest South African rappers, and Ma-E made it onto that list, and I remember he was infuriated at the disrespect, and I agree. I think Ma-E is the kind of MC that if you're a conventional rap listener who appreciates hip-hop, that panders to an American dialogue and that speaks in the jargon and the slang of Brooklyn rather than ubukasi and ital to elokishini in the context of the South African township, you're not gonna like the way that Ma-E raps. Ma-E reminds me of the early pioneers who were into what America represented in terms of its pop culture appeal, but always wanted to find a way to ground that in who they were. He's unapologetically South African street man. Ma-E is the kind of MC whose minimalism is often confused for quote-unquote whackness, because it's as minimal as Kwaito rap. And for those who know what Kwaito is, it was the mind-bending, culture-defining genre, or rather movement, which hit South Africa in the 90s that was really a South African interpretation of rap music done on electronic dance. So as a result, a lot of Kwaito rappers aren't recognized within South African hip-hop because the context of their raps tended to be, one, minimalistic, and two, done on beats which were mainly for dancing in a way that was exclusively South African. You couldn't take a Kwaito artist, a typical Kwaito artist, and jump them into the context of typical hip-hop. The two had to blend in ways where they learned how to mirror each other, and it was in this interesting place that artists like Zola, Mapaputsi, and Magesh, and even Mandoza, who we did a GOAT piece on, probably might put that in a link of that in the description, because a lot of what we're about, as well as the Headspace, is the activism of getting rappers who rapped on Kwaito recognized as rappers. There's still a huge debate about that. There's still a huge debate about whether or not somebody is an MC if they don't rap on beats which are classically considered hip-hop. But nevertheless, Ma-E represents that nostalgia of Kwaito-centric raps in the context of today's modern hip-hop. And this formula has interestingly worked for him because from his inception as part of Tear Gas into the era of his biggest hit, Don't Lie to Me with AKA, you saw Ma-E finding a way to remain in his pocket. And I'll tell you a little bit about what his pocket is as I go into his latest EP. 4 tracks, is called Namanje. For all of those listening in other parts of the world, Namanje basically means still now, until now. It basically is something that defines resilience, that even at this very moment I'm still at my peak. Even at this very moment I'm still on my steez, I'm still on my style. So as that is the gospel of what Ma-E is talking to us right now, I want to investigate if he actually is still on his steez, or maybe he's limping a little bit, you know, as elders tend to. So going into the actual tracks in and of themselves, Ma-E, as I said, stays safely in his pocket by cultivating his own plan of continuity within SA rap, because he does this through this minimal, slow-paced rhymes that ooze this kind of Grootman essence, as we would call it in South Africa. He speaks to the mature voice of the black masculine South African who lives in the townships. So the guy is the guy that's going to still be working a day job, hustling for his kids, but still trying to treat his girl right, but still trying to show everybody he's still got that swag. Basically, Ma'i raps for the middle-aged black man who still wants to show everybody that being middle-aged and black doesn't mean you're devoid of style and you're devoid of coolness. And oh my God, does he do that so well. He always tells his story with the simplicity that maturity comes with. He's learned to be very short with his words, but big on the actual illustrations of the streets. And that's what's beautiful about listening to Ma'i. He paints very minimal pictures of familiar styles and lifestyle that we know and we love in ways that are really so relatable. He does feel like your older brother, if you have an older brother from the townships. So as a result, there's songs here where, like the song with Marks, where the presence of an MC whose style is lyrically driven drowns what Ma'i is about. And I think it's a no-brainer when you listen to the song that Muggs owned that song. It's basically a track about cats owing the money and them getting back their due. And it's a metaphor, I think, for the industry at large that owes them for a lot of what they've contributed to. But you know, it can also be just a soundtrack for getting motherfuckers to give you back what's yours. And my oh my, does Umaga represent on this track, also as one of these stalwarts of township evolutionary raps. And what I mean by that is a kind of rapping that ostensibly feeds from golden era boom bap, but has that mellow swag that can only be familiarized with the South African streets. And the thing about Magi is that his imagination, metaphor, simile, structure, rhyme pattern and cadence is, quite frankly, superior to Ma'i's more minimalist, basic, almost nursery rhyme-esque style. So I think it isn't something that works in Ma'i's favor to feature lyricists. He shines more on individual tracks, and I think in this EP, as brief as possible, the first joint is where he really shines the most. On this track, he basically reminds us that he can still deliver mellow lyricism on trap, which seeks sometimes to get rappers to rap faster and be more rapid, but he oozes on these 808s with a gentle approach that is cool, calm, and collected. And I don't know if this is an insult to me doubting his skill, but something about the hook on this joint just feels suspiciously very KO-ish. I think Ma'i's never been one for melodic hooks that work in the way that this one seems to resonate. I smell some ghostwriting, but if it is Ma'i, then it simply means that the chemistry he's shared with KO, another South African rapper who's definitely a legend and OG in his own right, has consummated to Ma'i knowing how to feed into pockets that are characteristically KO. So it's either one of two things. Ma'i has been with KO so long that he knows how to write like him when it matters, hook-wise, or KO's writing for him. And I think either way, again, it doesn't work in his favor. Ma'i emphasizes himself excellently when he plays into his own strengths, which are simple 808 beats which have enough space for him to rap, and that have hooks that don't demand a pandering to the youth. Because again, come on folks, Ma'i is not the rapper for this generation. He's not a rapper that appeals to the youth of today. He's a rapper for the vintage, nostalgic taste of yesteryear. And that isn't a bad thing. I think rap music ages a little bit like wine. If the ingredients have been properly fermented, time does amazing things with them. And I think rappers shouldn't be afraid to just grow old and for the audiences they rap for to grow old with them. And one of the things that gets rappers trapped in places where they make terrible music is trying to always jump into younger markets the older that they get. So the one brilliant thing about this project is, in many instances, Mai plays the card he's always played of being rap for the elderly gentleman. Almost like gentleman club rap. Almost like elderly ginza, mature, luxurious bars. And that's a beautiful niche, because who else is doing that? And this is the secret to Mai's essence, is that rappers chase youth appeal so much that they forget that there's other markets of people who just love simple raps that can go along with their everyday lives. So in a nutshell, for me, this EP, 4 tracks, kind of goes into intimate moments but also tries to kind of deliver simple club bangers, is what I would give a solid 5 out of 10. It's definitely average. It's average because, goddammit, it's an EP. There's songs here that really feel more like interludes. Because Uzakdala, for instance, it swims in limbo because the rhymes are kind of not even that developed. It feels like an elongated hook. So as a result, there is a bit of brevity that could have been extended. This could have been longer. It could have been more structured. It definitely could have been broader. It feels too snappy and quick. And I think with an artist like Mai, you don't necessarily always find yourself trying to go back. He's the kind of artist, like I said, he's like fine wine. You want to take slow sips, you want to savor, and you really want to appreciate how much the aging has added to the definitive taste. So I think in the future, Mai should learn to make albums or EPs which allow for that space to ruminate and for him to really just embellish himself in the space. This was too brief for who he is, and as a result, it kind of doesn't leave you remembering anything much, which doesn't do Mai enough justice. So tracks like Stronger as well, it literally could have been stronger, but the vocals just feel too understated. And I think if they're tuned into a full-blown stadium choral atmosphere, because it's a sing-along motivational song that basically tells us that there's more in the present moment if we believe in ourselves. And I think if he had tapped into songs like that and tried to make them grander, bigger, with the mixing and the mastering, and make the vocals come through full-blown, almost Kanye West style, it would have worked way better for him. But a lot of instances in this EP feels like Mai is almost too understated, and the songs resonate on a level that's too low. The vibe is a little bit too calm, too collected, and as a result, it risks the tip of the edge of almost being boring. But it isn't, because he keeps it going with his snazzy, interesting, melodic approaches to minimal lyricism. The result, 5 out of 10 from me. Again, the importance of Mai and the importance of projects like this is that rap grows, it evolves, and as a part of hip-hop, which is now 50 years old, you bet your goddamn whatever that there are people in their 60s, 50s, 40s, and 30s who appreciate hip-hop and who need rappers to cater to the part of their lives that they're in as well. So shout out to Mai for allowing himself to evolve and grow, and I think KO could learn a lot from that. Don't be afraid to age, fellas. Don't be afraid to allow yourself to grow and mature, because what's gonna happen is if you try to always stay forever young, you're gonna be the old guy at the club that everybody's just looking at weirdly and thinking, what are they doing here? So shout out to mature rap. Shout out to just growing. Let's grow old.